What up, Mafia Nation? We're back again. I'm MAGZ.
I'm LVT.
And we're here to do another reaction video for you. Let's get it.
Alright, y'all. So the last time we did Sabaton, y'all reminded us what uncultured swine we are.
Yeah, a lot of the comments made me feel really, really dumb.
But, I mean, most of you guys were very kind and just tried to educate us. And a lot of you let us know that Sabaton actually does have a history channel, especially Shadow Whispers Band. Y'all told us to check it out, so we are going to check out the Bismarck Battle of Atlantic Sabaton history today.
Yes, because, again, we didn't know when we were watching it that was based off of a real battle, so I feel like this is going to help us understand the music video a little bit more, actually seeing what it was based off of. Mm-hmm. But before we get into it,
make sure you subscribe.
Smash on that notification bell.
And like, comment, and share with your friends.
Because caring is sharing, and sharing is caring.
I'm going to sip my coffee so we can get through this.
Well, I'm Indy Nidell.
I'm Pat from Sabaton.
And this is Sabaton History. Germany's Bismarck was the largest battleship ever built, but of course, being the biggest means you're also the biggest target.
And it was also one of the most requested songs that you guys wanted us to sing about. So we did.
We'll get to the song in just a minute, but first, here's the story of the Bismarck.
It is such a good song.
As the construction of the two Bismarck-class battleships began in 1936 in Germany, Britain was anything but worried. By treaty since World War I, Germany could not have any battleships that could challenge France and Great Britain. In 1935, Hitler had even voluntarily agreed to limit the total tonnage of his navy, the Kriegsmarine, to 35% of the British fleet. However, the launch of the first new battleship in February 1939 showed that not only had Hitler disregarded the treaty, Bismarck-class was something the world had never seen. Christened Bismarck by the granddaughter of Otto von Bismarck, Germany's first chancellor, the ship was, like its twin, the Tirpitz, 251 meters long and 36 meters wide, larger than anything the British or French had. Wow. Its 8 38-centimeter guns placed in 4 twin turrets were the biggest guns ever placed on a German warship. Additional medium artillery and anti-aircraft guns completed the armaments, while its range-finding center was top of the line. But it was not just strong offensively. If it was to go toe-to-toe with French battleships, as it seemed the most logical enemy in 1936, it had to be able to withstand...
I like his background. That's all I wanted to say.
Battleships, as it seemed the most logical enemy in 1936, it had to be able to withstand some hits without going down. The main armor belt was up to 32 centimeters of super strong Wotan steel. Its double-walled hull could absorb the shock from a torpedo and disperse it around the hull. The transverse bulkhead was between 11 and 22 centimeters thick and was segmented into 22 compartments that could be individually sealed in case of flooding. It's 12.
Okay, the way ships work, and I'm not, exact on this, but a lot of it that you see is actually underwater because it does sink a little bit, but with it being as big as it is, like the bottom of that, the air, and that's what's keeping it afloat. Like, did you ever put like a bowl or something in like a thing of water and it just kind of floats?
Yeah, I do dishes.
Same concept. Same concept, just on a massive scale.
See, listen, y'all, I don't do water. Like, if it's bigger than a swimming pool, nope. If I can't see the bottom, nope. There are creepy crawlies in there that we know nothing about. They will eat you and your family. No, thank you. I am not about it. I don't like the water.
But yeah, same thing. Buoyancy.
2 compartments that could be individually sealed in case of flooding. Its 12 high-pressure boilers and its munition chambers had an additional armor strength of 8 to 12 centimeters. All in all, with 44% of its weight dedicated to defense, it seemed impossible that this ship could be sunk.
I feel like we're setting it up.
By the time the ship was officially commissioned on August 24th, 1940, The war had turned Europe upside down, and it was British shipping, not French, that was the main enemy at sea. The German invasion of Norway had deprived the British of strategic positions in the North Sea. And if the German battleships Scharnhorst and Gneisenau could combine their strength with both the Bismarck and the Tirpitz, it would mean a daunting German battle group for the British to tackle. And as the battle for Britain raged in the air, German submarines targeted shipping in the Atlantic, Britain's lifeline. If such a battle group joined the hunt for freighters bound for Britain, Britain could be starved into submission. Food rationing had already been imposed on the British public, and the German subs operating from French ports sank over 260,000 tons of shipping in August alone.
Wow.
This was exactly what Admiral Erich Raeder of the Kriegsmarine had in mind when he gave command of the Bismarck to Admiral Gunther Lutyens. Second in command was Ernst Lindemann. The crew, over 2,000 strong, was not conscripts but volunteers from all over Germany. They were top-notch men. In the Baltic Sea, the Bismarck had its first training exercise against a mock battle cruiser, Hood. HMS Hood, built at the end of the First World War, was for a long time the British flagship and symbolized the might of the Royal Navy.
And they
The first tests were favorable. The Bismarck could reach a top speed of 30.8 knots and outrun any potential threat, but there were two weaknesses. First, the recoil of the heavy guns was extreme, and it was uncertain if, under combat conditions, the force of the naval guns firing would harm the ship's equipment. The second weakness showed during a simulated rudder failure. Without rudders, it was very hard to maneuver the ship. Well, rudders and propellers were always a weakness on any ship, though, and the German Admiralty dismissed the problem, since hitting the rudder during combat was extremely unlikely. By April 1941, the Bismarck was ready for combat. It was to head back to the North Sea, catch up with the heavy cruiser Prinz Eugen, and meet Gneisenau in the Atlantic. Raeder gave the order that over 3 months, it was to sink as many freighters as possible. The might of the Bismarck would allow the battle group to even attack guarded convoys. However, at the time, both the Gneisenau and Prinz Eugen were damaged awaiting repairs. The Bismarck waited. On May the 5th, Adolf Hitler visited the ship. Now, Hitler was a fan of battleships. He loved the design, but he had no knowledge of tactical or strategic naval warfare. He was, however, fearful when it came to naval operations. On the one hand, he wanted to protect and enhance the propaganda image of the mighty German forces. On the other, he wanted to avoid agitating the neutral Americans and their freight shipping. So the Kriegsmarine kept Hitler in the dark about his plans. On August 18, the Bismarck and Prinz Eugen were to secretly head into the Atlantic. Those two ships were strong enough to do some serious damage to British trade. It was likely that the British knew that the Bismarck was battle-ready, but still, secrecy was the key to success. Until they reached the Atlantic, the Bismarck could run into a British trap and be overwhelmed by numerically superior forces. But you know, how they hoped to keep the largest battleship in the world floating around out there a secret is beyond me. Anyhow,
Truth.
the 20th, the Bismarck was spotted, and a day later, members of the Norwegian resistance observed the German ship hiding in the fjords. They informed the British. Now, Admiral Sir John Tovey, aboard the new flagship King George V, was chief of the British Home Fleet. He was ordered by the British Admiralty to locate and engage the Bismarck. That ship was not to reach the Atlantic, period. Tovey could not, though, know the exact route the Bismarck would take. So he ordered Vice Admiral Lancelot Holland to take the Hood and make for Iceland with HMS Prince of Wales to cut off the most likely path. Back home, the Kriegsmarine informed Hitler about Bismarck's departure on the 23rd. Hitler was furious and wanted to recall the ship, fearing that the pride of Germany might be destroyed. But Raeder assured him that everything was fine, especially now that the German invasion plans for Crete were finalizing. Bismarck would keep the British from sending additional ships into the Mediterranean. Spotted again by the evening, two British heavy cruisers, the Suffolk and the Norfolk, had taken its scent. And I mean that quite literally. The Suffolk was equipped with a superior new radar system, and the heavy cruiser shadowed the Bismarck, gave its whereabouts to the rest of the British fleet. Bismarck also seemed to be pursued by bad luck. Not only could they not evade the new radar system, the first time they fired on the pursuing heavy cruisers, the recoil of the guns damaged their own radar system. So they had no idea what was heading their way.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, man.
That's really shitty.
Yeah. Maybe they should have listened to their Führer.
It was the Hood and the Prince of Wales. The Hood had more guns than the Bismarck, but way less armor. The crew was also inexperienced because since the end of the First World War, it had not fired a shot in combat. The battleships closed in on each other. The first to draw blood was the Prince Eugen, hitting one of the Hood's munition chambers. And then, just as the Hood was turning to bring its aft guns to bear, the fourth salvo from the Bismarck smashed into it, punching through its armor and detonating inside the ship's main munition chamber.
Oh,
A
man.
moment of shock paused the battle as HMS Hood was engulfed by a giant fireball and split in half. The Prince of Wales returned fire
That'd
on the
be
Bismarck,
crazy to
damaging
see.
it, but was in turn itself hit, which
Who was
destroyed the
taking
bridge and
pictures
killed
during
the
this?
officers. The Prince of Wales turned and fled.
Somebody's
Admiral
on,
Lutyens
like,
decided
somebody's on a little rowboat, just like miles away, just like.
No, they're definitely have to be doing that from the battleships, man. That's insane.
That, listen, but I mean, they have news reporters in the middle of freaking battle nowadays, so like, it had to start somewhere.
Yeah, but
Those people better get some serious freaking, what's it called, hazard pay?
yeah, I mean, but going on a battleship, like if a battleship goes down in the middle of the ocean, you're screwed.
Yeah, you get eaten by a shark.
No, more likely you're gonna freeze to death because it's like negative degree temperatures.
And then get eaten
It's
like a popsicle by a shark.
sure.
the bridge and killed the officers. The Prince of Wales turned and fled. Admiral Lutyens decided not to pursue, but to check the damage on Bismarck. It had only received one hit, but was taking on water. One of the boiler rooms had to be abandoned, but more importantly, the foremost fuel depots were leaking. Lutyens evaluated his options. He had damaged the Prince of Wales and destroyed the Hood, a major victory. Indeed, it had been a lucky shot, and the battle had not lasted 10 minutes, but only 3 of the 1,419 men aboard the Hood had survived.
Jeez.
But the Bismarck could not now reach top speed, and his fuel was lower than planned. Yep, Bismarck was always referred to as a he. Lutyens could return the way he came to Norway, or try to break through to Saint-Nazaire, France for repairs.
It's kind of weird.
chose
Aren't most
France.
ships referred
The
to as
death
females?
of the Hood
Most are,
was
yes.
indeed a shock to the British public. Admiral Tovey was ordered to destroy the Bismarck with all ships available. Norfolk and Suffolk were still shadowing the Bismarck, but neither could slow it down. The only ships close enough to do that were Force H, HMS Sheffield, HMS Renown, and the aircraft carrier Ark Royal, with 18 Swordfish torpedo bombers aboard. Those biplanes looked like World War I, but could reach 100 knots, enough to catch the Bismarck. Lutyens was pessimistic about his chances, since basically the whole British home fleet was on his heels. Force H made contact with the Bismarck May 25th, but the Renown and the Sheffield were too weak to engage. 15 torpedo bombers did instead that night. Such small planes are hard to hit with AA guns, especially at night, and with suicidal bravery they closed in and released torpedoes at 300 meters. The first torpedoes did minimal damage, but Bismarck was hit in the stern while making evasive maneuvers, and inrushing water blocked the rudder. Bismarck's Achilles heel
Ooh.
had been hit.
It's like, nah, we don't need it. It's underwater. Joke's on you, torpedo.
Engineers tried desperately to find a solution, but the water pressure was too high to send in mechanics. The situation seemed hopeless as the British ships closed in. Admiral Lutyens radioed Berlin, "Ship disabled. We will fight to the last shell. Long live the Führer." Tovey planned to engage the Bismarck from all sides, with the battleships King George V and Rodney attacking from the west, while the Norfolk would come in from the north and the heavy cruiser Dorsetshire would attack from the east.
They're doomed.
In the early morning of the 27th, they sighted the slowly swaying Bismarck. Rodney and George V opened fire. Bismarck returned fire, but soon 2 of his turrets were knocked out of action. A shell hit the artillery command center, killing the officers. Lucky hits, but decisive ones. Bismarck was blinded. The shelling continued, and by 9:15, Bismarck was
without
a
the
burning
officers,
wreck.
there's nobody making
He fired
calls.
his final shots just after 9:30 as his last turrets were destroyed.
The flagship of the Navy, the terror of the seas, his guns have gone silent at last.
The Bismarck was done. Of the 2,876 shells fired on it, 400 hit the ship in a little over half an hour. Now it was the execution of a helpless enemy. Within the ship, it was pure hell, from poisonous gases, fire, heat, cold water, oil, and blood from the dead and dying. At 10:15, Lindemann, since Lutyens was probably dead at that point, gave the order to abandon ship. This the men who could did, as shells rained down, killing hundreds of sailors. The Dorsetshire fired 3 torpedoes as the final blow, and Bismarck disappeared beneath the waves at 10:40. Just 115 of his crewmen would survive.
Wow, out of 2,000.
Hitler learned about the disaster not from Admiral Raeder, but from the British press. The Kriegsmarine had refrained from telling him the truth, fearing his anger. And so ends the brief adventures of the Bismarck, the mightiest battleship of all. Again, the biggest ship makes the biggest target.
This is true.
To lead the war machine, to rule the waves and lead the Kriegsmarine.
So what inspired you to write about the Bismarck?
All right, we get a lot of requests from our fans. Ever since the album 2010, Coat of Arms, where we actually asked our fans officially for the first time to send in ideas. I received over 10,000 ideas in just a short period of time. It took me weeks to go through all
Because
of
they'd
them.
wrole write a story, not just Bismarck. They'd write, you should tell this story about this and this.
Yeah,
and,
well, some people write, you should write a story about Star Wars. And some people write a whole thing.
You guys, Star Wars doesn't count as military history, even though it was a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
When I go through them, there's one of the stories that keeps popping up constantly. And there are so many people who want to hear the story about the battleship Bismarck. I like warships, I like naval warfare.
Yeah.
And for me, this was a topic that I really wanted to cover. We couldn't fit it on Carolus Rex, for obvious
Right, yeah,
reasons.
okay.
We couldn't really fit it in on the heroes, even though you could sort of maybe write it from the perspective of the sailors or something like this.
Sure.
If we would put it on the last stand, yeah, then maybe that would have worked, but we didn't cover it for that. And then we have the cooperation with the gaming company called Wargaming. And they have a game called World of Tanks where Sabaton has a tank inside.
That's a fun game.
And they also have another game about ships.
World of Warships.
Yes, correctly. And they asked us if we had any song that would fit to this. And yeah, we do have the song Midway, which is about naval warfare. We thought, okay, this is a great opportunity for us actually to write something unique for this, because we felt this story we want to tell, and we can actually do it outside of an album to gain
Right,
more
okay.
focus on it. And we decided we
That's
went
a-
to the studio and
That's a really, really cool, like, plan.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of people were like, oh, we already have this song written. Let's just give them that one.
Yeah.
But they actually went above and beyond and took the opportunity of, like, hey, we're going to write something completely new for this.
Yeah, that's
Which,
awesome.
kudos to them. Because, like, they are seemingly very involved
Yeah.
in all kinds of history, not just history of where they're from, but just history everywhere.
Yeah,
which is
military
super cool.
history. That's awesome,
Yeah.
man.
album to gain
Right,
more
okay.
focus on it. And we decided we went to the studio and we wrote the song Bismarck and we recorded it. And Wargaming actually helped us to produce a really, really awesome video for it.
Because it is the single.
I scratch your back, you scratch my back.
Yeah, that video was dope, bro.
Yeah, it was super good.
Like, and knowing the history of it, they definitely captured.
Well, how
Oh,
was it
absolutely.
The essence
recording
of
it,
it.
making the video and everything that goes with making a single and stuff?
Well, the video was recorded in several locations.
Yeah.
Our main part was filmed on a ship. So we needed to find absolutely open water that would fit
Right.
to the purpose. And a boat that was suitable enough to carry a stage that we could take out on open water. And they sprayed us constantly with water when we were filming it. And it was pretty cold when they were driving full speed with the vessel and filming it over and over again.
Yeah.
And we were so cold, and with the water, it actually freeze our fingers. So in the end, we could barely move them at all.
That's what we were talking
But the
about.
people
We were
filming, they
watching
were
it.
all wearing jackets and things.
Yeah, they were comfortable. They were drinking coffee and just enjoying the sight of us.
It is a tough life being a rock star. Tough life.
Truth.
But in the end, it turned out to be a really cool video, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, I love the song too. So, and it's great that we have this channel now, so we can even explain it to the people who might have missed the single.
Sure.
So that was Bismarck.
And this is Sabaton history.
The terror of the seas, Bismarck and the Kriegsmarine.
All right, thanks for watching. And don't forget to subscribe to the Sabaton History channel. Check out India's other channels. And support us on Patreon, because that's what makes this happen.
Dope.
Yeah, that was super cool.
Yeah, that was super cool. It was really definitely interesting to learn the story behind.
Yeah,
the
I'm
video.
really mad. I never heard about that story before. I'm sure I might have like bits and pieces here, but like we said, I don't know about where you went to school, but we didn't really cover too many battles of World War II that were like not
The
including
main.
Yeah, that didn't really include America. Like that was, I did not know any of that though, and like it's just very interesting. Like it's a
Yeah, I was never really like a history person in school. Like I didn't pay attention and I didn't care, which is horrible, and don't do that.
don't do that, kids.
But, you know, as I get older, I realize that I'm like, okay, this is actually really cool to learn about, like, not even just America, but like all over the world, because the world has been through so much.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm definitely interested in doing more Sabaton videos and more Sabaton history videos.
For sure. I feel like we should watch the history videos before we watch the music videos, though, because
Yeah.
that way we know what we're getting into. Because, like, I feel like I would have enjoyed that video so much more if we had watched this first and I
Yeah.
knew what the battle was.
Yeah.
So, like, watching the ship go down, I'm like, ooh.
I mean, if you guys suggest that, it seems like there's like 97, I think is what we saw,
Yeah.
videos on this channel. So if you guys think that we should do that first and watch the video of the history before the actual music video, let us know. Leave it in the description below or in our Discord, or
Check out any of our social media links below. No,
Yeah.
the other thing. Oh. If you would like us to be able to bumped up and let us get yours out quicker, sorry, squirrel attention. If you'd like us to get them out more faster, check out our donation link below.
it's 4 in the morning, guys. We're sorry. We're tired.
Sorry. Yeah, for sure, because we are getting a high influx of requests on comments and Discord. And we appreciate every single one of you guys doing that, because we've found out about a lot of things we didn't know about.
Like this.
Like this. But it's hard to keep up. So if you do send us that donation, you can get bumped to the top of the list.
Sorry, buddy.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I don't feel like it's alright. I'm sorry, I'm letting you all down. I apologize.
And as Ryan said, we do have all of our social media scrolling below. So, keep an eye out for some behind the scenes stuff that we'll be posting here soon. And, you know, we'll see you next time.